What's up, guys? DJ here at Top Deck Cards and Games, and we're back. I know we didn't do a lot in 2019 as far as the channel and content creation goes. We had a ton of growth in the retail store and our vending team, and we think we did a lot of great things, but we really let this sort of stuff slip by the wayside. So, as the year wound down, Ethan and I talked a lot about how we can get content creation back to the forefront and get stuff back out to you guys. So, we can share our thoughts with you and get a lot of sweet things out there for you guys to see. And today we got blessed by Konami with a new ban list, so let's kick it off with a ban list reaction video. I'm just going to go through the list card by card as we look at the changes and talk about everything, what I think it means for the game, how I feel about the change itself, and just see where we go from there. These are going to be pretty off the cuff and candid. I didn't look into this a ton. I've looked over the list. I know what cards are on there, but I haven't put a ton of thought into how the game changes from here. So let's just dive into it, look at the first card on here, and keep going from there. First thing that got banned, Orca Star Horror. Honestly, I think this is about time. I think Konami's shown a true love for Orcus by hitting the wrong card every single time. First they hit, what's the card's name? Bardiche, and then they hit Mermaid. Both of those were good cards to hit, don't get me wrong. Bardiche less so than Mermaid, but they obviously weren't going to kill the deck. They were making choices intentionally to let Orcus stick around, and I think that was fine. I think the final version of Orcus was still a little bit too good, and it makes sense to hit it, get it out of the game, and let new combo decks kind of come in and take over. One thing we're going to notice as we go through this list is that Konami, as they do every couple years, basically just took away every deck that's been on top of the game for a while now. And I don't think that's a bad thing. A lot of other games have rotations, and Konami uses the ban list as a soft rotation for us every couple years. So we're going to see all the decks that have been dominating for 2 years, and frankly, the game has been fairly stagnant as far as the meta goes, just from the archetypes that are viable for the last, year and a half approximately. And every single one of those decks we're going to see had a pretty substantial hit, and I'm not going to say they're all not going to exist, but as Orcus took a pretty hard hit here from the banning of Harpor, and frankly, I'm not sure how the deck goes from here. I wasn't an Orcus master, but I can't imagine that there's any desire to play the deck after that hit. Next thing on the list is Thunder Dragon Colossus. Colossus is pretty similar. It's going to neuter Thunder Dragon as we know it. We're going to lose pure Thunder Dragon for sure with no Colossus. But I think Danger Thunder or something similar, one of the Seafort combo decks, may have legs to stand on still. The Thunder Dragon cards themselves are really good enablers and extenders when used with the baby dragons, and I think there might still be a world where we're interested in playing those cards just for that ability. But, Thunder's not going to work the same way it did anymore. We're not going to put multiple mistakes up. We're not going to be able to tribute to summon back Diablos. It's going to be interesting. Next card on the list is Heavy Metal Foes Electromite. I am very happy to see this ban, and not necessarily for power level reasons, but Electrum really crowded out design space just by existing. It forced Pendulum decks, anytime they printed cards for Pendulum, they had to go, okay, but does this help make Electrum turn 1? If it helps make Electrum turn 1, where do we go from there? Because turn 1 Electrum was so key to the decks, and the deck was already so powerful when it was making multiple Electrums, and even when it was just making one Electrum. The game plan revolved strictly around summoning Electrum for all of these Pendulum decks. Not that was necessarily a bad thing, but it made printing new Pendulum cards really difficult, and tuning new Pendulum cards really difficult. So I think banning Electrum was good, and we're going to be able to see a lot more creativity with Pendulum design space going forward, hopefully. Next thing down here is Ib, World Chalice Justicar. Ib is kind of an interesting hit to me. It's funny, since Denglong is still on the list, I'm not too surprised that Pseudo Denglong is on the list now as well. I also think Ib would be the next best thing to do after all of the existing decks were hit. That's where people would have gone next, just because it was the next tier down after the really established decks, and even some of the established decks right now. So, good hit. I'm fine with that. Next up is Tempest Magician. FTKs are bad. I don't think we're really all going to argue that. It's a good ban. As a Thought is the next one. Bye. Cool. Thank you. Nobody wants to deal with that. It's not a fun card to play against. It's not a particularly fun card to play with. So overall, just that's a good choice as well. Next up, we have Salamandrate Mirage Stalio. Stalio was integral to the deck, right? So I mean, it's a good hit. Not how I would have expected Salamangreat to get hits. I think Salamander was a fine deck, and like I said, I'm not surprised to see them rotated out of existence, but or not necessarily out of existence. That's harsh. I I will say that I don't know that banning Stalio kills that deck like some of the other bans do to their respective archetypes, but it's a big hit. I think it's fine. I'm curious to see where that deck goes from there. I don't know that this kills the deck, but it is a huge nerf. So overall, that's a fine hit. Next up, we have Brilliant Fusion. This is another hit that I actually really like, specifically because, as you can see here, it was limited previously. And Brilliant Fusion, frankly, did pay for the sins of a lot of other cards. I mean, you could make the argument that their other cards should be banned and Brilliant should be illegal, or maybe Brilliant should have never been limited and should have gone straight to the ban list, which is probably where I would have gone. I don't like when cards like Brilliant Fusion are limited. They're so game warping that it creates such bad feelings for your opponent to draw their one Brilliant Fusion, and anybody who goes to events is tired of hearing everyone's bad beat stories between rounds. I get it, and Brilliant Fusion certainly can lead to those. It's a card I really enjoyed playing with, but I would rather see it at 0 than at 1, so good hit. And unfortunately, here is Sky Striker Mobilize Engage. Striker has been my favorite deck since it got released. It's a ton of fun to play. I've really enjoyed it and felt like I've been able to play more engaging games of Yu-Gi-Oh! With it than most other decks that have been around for a while. That being said, it's time. I mean, the deck has survived, 3 or 4 waves of hits. Every time it just ends up being a fine deck again. It seemed like it didn't matter what cards were hit, but Engage being banned is going to... If it doesn't kill Striker, it's going to turn Striker into a deck that's not what we're used to right now. I mean, maybe we'll see as we get through the list a little more that Kagari also got unlimited, and maybe using that you're able to play like a stall stun deck where you just loop your Widow Anchors with your Kagaris. I don't know. I don't think there's going to be much there anymore. I'm glad Engage is banned, especially so we don't see Engage Hornet Drones and all these other non-Striker decks. Like Orca. I think that's a good thing, and overall happy with the hit. Onto the limited cards. Down here we've got Danger Nasi, which went to 1 from 2. I think that's fine. I'm not... I don't know what the right answer for the Danger cards is, right? Because 2 lists ago, I guess, they semi-limited all the really good ones, Such, Jackalope, and Nessie. And I think that's fine. I just don't know what else they're supposed to do. Like, are they going to end up limiting all 3 of the good ones? Or are people still just going to play Dangers because you can play the 3 good ones and then play a couple, Mothman, Bigfoot, whatever type ones? I don't know. I think that's fine. I would have probably just left it at 2, but, whatever. Dino Wrestler Pankratops. I don't understand why this card is limited. If anybody can explain it to me, let me know down below, because I got nothing here, guys. Serva of Endymion. Similar to what I had to say about the Electroman, I think this card is really good. I think this limit is just fine. This card changes the way the game is played every time you find it in Pendulum. It's an extremely good card, and I think it's going to be fine limited. Pendulum's going to move on just fine without it, so curious to see where that goes, but no big deal. I think that's reasonable. True King Lithosogym the Disaster was forbidden, now limited. I know a lot of people felt almost robbed that they didn't get to play with this card before it got limited with Diagram and everything, or not that they didn't get to play with it, but you didn't get to play with it for long. You didn't get to play with it with the dinosaur cards, and I know a lot of people wanted to do that. It's a cool card. I'm happy to see it back, actually. I know a lot of people probably have different opinions there. I'm curious to see what other people have to say, and if anyone comes up with something insane to do with the card, because I do think it's a really good card, and I'm excited to see what happens with it. We got Diagram limited as well, so I mean, you're not going to be able to consistently find your one copy of it. You're going to have to do some work there. It is what it is. It's whatever. It's a fine card. Down here, Card of Demise limited. Card of Demise draws 3 cards. Like that's an extremely strong effect. It doesn't work in every type of strategy. Obviously, you have to be able to set your cards. You have to be able to play without your special summon. and draw 3 cards is a powerful payoff for doing those things, because not every deck wants to do that stuff. So being able to get 3 cards for playing a strategy like that instead of special summoning 15 times on your first turn is really cool. I don't like cards like this at 1, frankly. If we're going to have Card of Demise on the list, let's put it to 0. I don't think it as a 1 of is very cool. Just, I don't know. It says something about its power level that I'm not really cool with. Like, it could have been at 3, it could be at 9. I just don't see a reason to have 1 Card of Demise, because it defeats the purpose of building around it. You're not going to build your deck around your 1 Demise. So it might coincidentally fit into some of your decks, but you're never going to build a deck and go, oh, this is a Demise deck. Like, so I don't know. That's a lot less interesting to me. Diagram Limited, probably about time, right? I mean, God, when was Zoo Nationals with Draco? So it's been a long time. Draco has been good the entire time. Even recently we saw Draco Striker take off, which is a sick deck. So it's about time this got hit again, or the deck got hit again, I should say. The 1 diagram is fine. It's somewhat searchable if you're willing to go through the effort of playing like metaverses. You have set rotation, you have your 1 terraforming. And it is a very good card for those decks. It's a key card if you want to play like a true king deck. So, I think this is another good one, honestly. And I am going to keep saying that about these hits, by the way, guys. I think this ban list was really good. It's going to create a lot of interesting innovations in gameplay going forward while people try to figure out what's good. It's going to create a lot of diversity, I hope, and we'll see, I guess, as it plays out, but I think it's awesome. Next up is Into the Void. I know Upstart Goblin's limited, and, like, this is a pseudo-upstart, but come on, guys. I would have left this one at 3. I know I just said FTKs aren't cool, so, like, you can call me out a little bit there, but I don't think the 3 copies of Into the Void compared to 1 copy of Into the Void is the reason FTKs work. Like, I mean, whatever. It doesn't matter either way, but come on. Pot of Avarice. It's about time this came back, I think. I'm certainly willing to try. If it is a problem, put it back to banned, on the next list. I can't imagine it's a problem. I think Japan has had this legal for a long time now, and it hasn't created any sort of issues. So cool to have it back. I hope I still have an ultimate laying around, because, that would be sweet, but we'll see. Next up, we have Seca's Light. Seca's Light is now forbidden. This was obviously a card that saw a lot of play in the Danger Thunder decks as its only spell for a while. I know that some variations of the deck weren't playing it towards the more recent times, but I mean, it's another Pot of Greed type effect, similar to Card of Demise. It was your payoff for building your deck around it. I hate seeing cards like this limited to 1. If they were going to put a limitation on it, I guess, and this one could go for Demise too, like, I don't know. I don't like limiting cards to 2 either for similar reasons I said above, but it being a 1 irks me because it feels like a functional ban. I'm never going to play 39 monsters in 1 Seca's Light because I don't think the payoff is there. Like, if I was building Danger Thunder today, I would cut a couple more monsters and play Allures and maybe Melodies and Gold Sark. I wouldn't say I'm going to play 1 Seca's Light. That doesn't make sense. That's nonsense, right? So, whatever. I would prefer to just see it banned instead of functionally banned. I know a lot of people would like to see less cards on the banned list in particular, but it's functionally the same to me whether it's limited to 1 or banned. So let's just put it to 0 and not let players trick themselves into playing a copy. Next up, we have Red Reboot Limited. I don't quite understand the rationale there. I don't think it's a card that needed limited. I know there's an upcoming Feather Duster-esque effect. I don't know if that's in the next set or what. I've seen it like translated and posted online, but whatever. There's a lot of really good spell and trap interaction right now with Twin Twister. You still have a Reboot. You have 3 evenly matched if you want to play them. So I think this is fine. Not a lot to say there. Next up, we have Deep Sea Diva being semi-limited from limited. Diva is still an absurdly strong card. I mean, Searching Neptibus still does a ton. Off the top of my head, I don't know what it does right now. The last time I played the deck, all of the Orca stuff was legal. Like, you could make Mermaid, which, that play was insane. If you just summon Diva, you just teed off on your opponent if they didn't hand trap it. It's obviously not that good anymore, but it's still going to be really strong. I mean, like I said, Diva Search Neptibus is going to be a combo on its own. I'd be curious to see how much you can do with that now. So that's something that maybe I'll tinker with, just seeing what we can get just off of a Summon Deep Sea Diva. And, I think it's a powerful card that's really cool. That may be a choice that, I could see that being something that ends up being regretted down the line. Similar to what I said about Electromite, it crowds out design space on, what is it, level 2 Sea Serpents? Or level 2 and lower Sea Serpents? Yeah. Not that there's a ton of demand for those, and that's a much more narrow piece of design space that it's a problem with, so it's less big of a deal, but it is curious to me that they put this at 2 now, because I feel like it's been innocuous for years, and now they knock all these other decks down in power level, and it's like, let's try 2 Diva. It's probably not going to do anything, but it has the potential to be an extremely powerful card, which is what I'm focusing on. I don't think that, like, Mermail's not that good, but Diva is that good. And very similar to Diva is Torghad from the Underworld. They're both little monsters. They grab another monster from your deck when you summon them and special summon it, and they both can be used to tee off and combo on your opponent. Torghad does it with Burning Abyss monsters. People love Burning Abyss. The deck is like on the fringes of playability already, so I think that's cool to give them another tour guide. I didn't mention this with Colossus, but I will with Tour Guide. I think Burning Abyss is a deck that gains a lot from the Master Rule update when that changes later this year. So, I mean, that could be a really good thing for Burning Abyss then. I don't know if that makes them too good. I doubt it. I doubt having an extra tour guide is what brings that deck over the edge at any point, really. So, I think that's cool, and it's always cool to see legacy decks stay around like that. Next up, we have Mind Control getting semi-limited from being unlimited before. Mind Control is a really good card. I don't understand this one either. Putting it to 2 is fine, but why not just leave it at 3? Who knows? Down here, new cards getting unlimited. There is a lot here, and it's a lot of cards that I am happy to see get unlimited. First off is Dark Arm Dragon. Dark Arm Dragon was at 2 for a while, didn't do anything. It's a card that has a very special place in my heart, especially from a nostalgia standpoint. Teledad and Dad Return are formats where I really got into the game competitively. I was playing competitively before then, but I really got into Yu-Gi-Oh then. And cards that I have played a ton of times, I've won a ton of matches with, and I think it's a fun card to play with. It did not age well. Having such restrictive requirements to summon a card to potentially pop some cards on the field on a 2800 body is whatever. We can do that with anything now. It's just not impressive. Lady Debug next got unlimited from being at 1. Given that they banned Stalio, I think this is fine. I'm guessing the rationale was, well, without that, we can have 3 debugs and try to build Salamangreat that way, see if there's anything you can do. I think the deck is weaker than it was before with 3 debugs, so I think, cool stuff, and maybe Cyberse is broken, who knows. Morphing Jar number 2, unlimited was forbidden. This is neat. I don't know that I see... This might be the thing on the list I like the least, because I'm not sure how Morphing Jar 2 is broken. I don't think any of us are, really, but, Morphing Jar 2 is not going to get played in any reasonable Yu-Gi-Oh deck, and if somebody does find a way or reason to play Morphing Jar 2, it's going to be degenerate. And they probably won't, and it probably won't matter. And in a year, I'm going to forget that Morphing Jar 2 is a legal Yu-Gi-Oh card, because it just won't matter. But... if somebody does think of something to do with it, I'm going to be annoyed every time I sit down across from it. Damage Juggler to 3 was at 2 before. I think this is a good change. I like Damage Juggler. I think it creates actually really good gameplay as a card that you can use as a sort of extender if you can discard it. Preventing damage is actually a cool hand trap effect. I think that's more in line with what I'd like to see for hand traps. It's not powerful enough to be a standalone effect, but I think Damage Juggler is a really cool card. It does a lot, and happy to see it back at 3. Next up, we have Tribe Infecting Virus, another forbidden to unlimited card. Tribe Infecting Virus could go to 38 and the game wouldn't change. You could play 400 copies of Tribe Infecting Virus and it just would not matter. So, fine to be unlimited. Should have been unlimited, I don't know, 5, 6, 8 years ago, a while ago, a long time ago. This card should have been off the list. It doesn't do anything, so cool. Happy it's at 3. The only unfortunate thing for that is if you play Goats, the supply is going to dry up from, because people are just going to grab 3 now. Like, I don't know, maybe I'll need them. They're not going to need them, but whatever. Next up, Sky Striker Ace Kagari went from limited to 3. I think this is fair compensation for Engage being banned. Like, it really does screw the deck up to have no Engage, much more than it helps the deck to have 3 Kagari. So, like, that's fine. I think that this is interesting because, like, it probably won't be a good deck, but you can still build a Sky Striker deck with 3 Kagari. You know, loop your Widow Anchors, loop your Sharp Cannons. You still have a multi-roll. You can still use Shizuku to search your limited cards. So, not going to be a great deck, but it's a deck that you could play if you really love Striker, or if that was the only deck you have, so you're not bogged down in inability to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Because you don't have a playable deck now. So I'm happy they made that change. Next up, we have Book of Moon. Book of Moon at 3 now is depressing because it wasn't long ago where 3 book would have been really, really, really good for the game. It would have been a great trap card that you could use whenever you're ahead. It would have been a great card you could use aggressively when you're behind, and it would have helped disrupt everything. As recently as Zoo format, it would have been awesome to have Book of Moon at 3. Instead, we're in the Link era now. This doesn't turn those cards down, so it doesn't do much when you're behind against those decks. The only deck that like it would have excited me to have a book against going second last format, and excited is a very, very strong word for how I would have felt, but I mean, at least you could flip down a Colossus so that you could play. Colossus is banned. I'm not going to be Book of Mooning those. Even if I'm going first, like, yeah, it's a fine defensive card, but when you look at, like, the other cards, and, I mean, spoiler, we just got Solemn Warning back to 3. If I'm playing it as a trap card when I go first, like, I'm going to rather have Solemn Warning than Book of Moon. So, I mean, love that it's at 3. Hopefully we have a format or, you know, metagame where it's a valid card again, a viable card again, but we're not there right now. But it is cool to see it back at 3, and I'm really curious how much CP books end up costing. Phantom Knight rank up, Azathoth's banned. Cool, this card can go back to 65, I don't care. Solemn Warning. The whole Solemn Brigade is unlimited now, and I think that's awesome, actually. Trap cards are good. Like, it's good to have powerful trap cards because you're so disincentivized from playing them in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just so much better for you to be, you know, doing something broken usually. They're just awful when you're behind. They're awful when you lose the dice roll. So it's good if the trap cards are good, at least, because then you're able to do something with them. And some of them are strong enough where they're good even when you're behind. Warning doesn't fall into that category, but I mean, I do think it's a good card. I'm happy to have it at 3. Finally, 3 Soul Drain. This card hasn't been relevant in such a long time that it's easy to forget how frustrating it is. It's a floodgate. I'm just opposed to floodgates in general. Would have rather seen this one stay at 1 if I'm being honest. But it's fine for it to go to 3 now. It's going to end up being relevant again. People are going to be annoyed, like, man, why'd this go back to 3? But for right now, it is what it is. It's fine right where it's at. And cool. So that is the whole list, and there are a ton of changes. I mean, this is one of the bigger lists that I can remember, and they absolutely massacred the incumbent decks. So it's cool to see that done, actually. Like I said, I liken it to a rotation from a lot of the other games that rotate out sets, and I think it's a good thing. It's going to keep things fresh. It's going to make it more diverse. We're going to see new decks, more innovation, and those are things that I really enjoy in card games, so I'm happy to see it happen here. Honestly, I'm not sure where the format goes from here. There's a lot of experimentation to be done. I mean, when I think of cards that I think are really good still, I mean, Spiral seems good. I'm going to try Necroz. You know, the Danger cards are still strong. Maybe we can build a combo deck with those. As I mentioned, we have a ton of really strong trap cards now. Is there a trap deck we can build? I don't know. I don't know where we go from here. So I'm going to start testing. I'm going to start building decks up, making brews, and seeing what I can get going. Maybe start goldfishing with some combo decks to try to figure something out. If you guys have any ideas, let me know down below. I'm curious to see what you guys are talking about, what you're interested in, and if there's anything you'd like to see us try to put together, whether it's me, Ethan, any of the other members of the staff, or the players at the store. You know, we're happy to build whatever if we've got the cards and try it out, or if anybody has a sick deck they want to show us, that'd be awesome too. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think about the ban list. Like I said, I am really happy about this one. I think it's about time that we got a lot of these decks rotated out, and I'm going to enjoy all the experimentation. So hope you guys are as excited about this as I am, and we will be having more content soon. We're going to keep this going through all of 2020. I'm not going to guarantee how quickly we're going to get back on The upload train, the ban list kind of came as a surprise, and I didn't want to miss out on talking about it while it was fresh. But we are still getting everything in place to have a really solidified regular content schedule. So we will have more soon, though. I'm excited to interact with everybody again, and really looking forward to it. So thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed.